there, you guys. Rasati out here in Singapore. Thank you so much once again for joining me on the Night Owl podcast. And you know what? As always, you already know this. I'm here documenting my journey, letting you know what it's like to be a single mom and an entrepreneur in Singapore, starting all over again and trying to find your audience and find your tribe, whether it's around the world or in your backyard. So it's been really, really interesting, obviously. And for those of you who know me personally or actually are familiar with my IG account, Rasat1, you know there's always like an ant trail for my stories. I have tons and tons of stuff that I always post because I like to keep myself motivated just as much as I like to share for you guys. So I try to do my best to showcase local talent, local artists that are doing something, that are dedicated to their craft, that have that kind of that passion that kind of jumps across your phone screen. And I want to make sure that I highlight some of those people because I think it's really, really important for those people that are up and coming, that are really just, starting out on their own, to feel that there is a community behind them, to feel that, certain people actually do see them and appreciate the work that they're doing, and they understand the kind of difficulties they may have been facing or the hardship that comes with, Corona quarantine, and they're still doing the work that they love most, which is creating. So shout out to all of my creators. I really appreciate you guys, and know that I see you. When I post stuff that you've been doing, it's because I see you and I appreciate the work that you're putting in. All right. So with that being said, I also post a lot of my favorite authors, my favorite accounts. Iconic has been in my feed like forever. I love their work. I love the way they put things together, because honestly, if I could create posters, which I have before as a kid, I would do the same thing. So the way they're doing it, killing it. I really do love it. The imagery really, really speaks a lot. When they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, I think Iconic has it. They figured it out. They've used branding from other companies and stuff, partnerships and such, and they've turned the messaging around so that it's actually very memorable as well. So I really appreciate the things that they're doing. That's one of them. The other one is actually people like Mastin Kipp, Tony Robbins, who else? Oh goodness, T.I. sometimes when he posts stuff, Will Smith obviously, and then of course people like Tom Bilyeu and Before 5 a.m., Robin Sharma, Dandapani, and Jay Shetty. Like, there's a lot. Okay, I'm just gonna, that's a lot of people I just named off, but those are the people that I look up to, and the people that have what I want, whether it's happiness, inner joy, inner strength, finance as well. I got to get it all together. So I really, really appreciate this. Mind Valley. Oh my gosh, how could I forget? Mind Valley is big on that, which means Vishen Lakhiani is on high on the list as well. So today, though, I want to talk about this very, very important quote that Tom Bilyeu and his wife actually posted. So real quick, I'm going to read it for you. It says, "Never, ever, ever, ever weaponize your partner's insecurities against them." And I cannot stress that enough, because what they've told you in confidence, it's not fair for you to use it against them. That's what I call hitting below the belt. When you have an argument and you feel like you're losing your side in the argument, then that's really not a discussion at all. What you're supposed to have in a partnership is a discussion where you have your opinions, and that's okay. They have their opinions, and that's okay. But how do you find a middle ground for you to go forward, right? When you have an argument, it's all about ego. An argument means that you're trying really hard to convince the other side that you're right and they're wrong, which means both of you can't be right at the same time. One of you has to be the loser, which means when you feel like you're losing ground, you're going to do whatever it takes, which means play dirty and hit below the belt, in order to put them down so they have nothing left to be able to talk about. But how can you be a good partner while you're kicking your partner down? When you're trying to put the other person down, you're trying to minimize what they have to speak about. You're trying to shut them up real quick because you need to have the last word or whatever. It's very hard for them to look at you with respect, and it's even harder for them to ever trust you again because they've told you these things in confidence. Let me give you an example, and I was really, really bad about this, right? I remember learning about the fact that people, have a tendency to block trauma out so that they don't remember. They don't want to replay it in their head. They want to pretend it never happened. So they're very good about moving past a traumatic event. And a lot of times victims will do things like block out the entire, not just the event, but the entire day, sometimes even the entire week. Sometimes, if you're looking back far enough, it could be years that they've completely blacked out because it was a stressful time in their life. It was very, very traumatic. Unfortunately, I used to be a mean girl, okay? And unfortunately, my favorite target was my mom, mostly because I have abandonment issues and I was trying really hard. I was trying hard at the time with what little I knew to try and fix the situation, but I wasn't doing a very good job. I was the mean girl instead. I was picking on my mom a lot, and that wasn't fair because what would happen is she would tell me that I needed to do something, and she would say that I need to listen to her and not, question it because she's older than me, she knows better, and then these little pieces of information that she's told me before would sneak out of my mouth and kind of slap her in the face, which is totally, totally, totally unfair. And it ruined our relationship for a long time. So here's what I'm going to tell you, okay? There was a situation once upon a time where I needed to ask my mom what she remembered about me being a little kid. And I already knew, we've already been through several discussions where I was compassionate at the time when she told me that she was having trouble remembering things because it was just a tough time in her life. And there were so many things, there were so many details that she tried to block out because there was a lot going on and she was very, very stressed out. And I felt badly when she told me about it. And I felt, wow, you opened up to me. You felt like you were comfortable enough with me to be actually, confide in me and let me know something that was difficult in your life. But as well, and this is before I knew better, you guys, okay, while I was still a teenager, I was a little bit of an asshole. While I was going through a tough time and we were having an argument or whatever, I used to turn it back on her and be like, well, what's the point of asking you anyway? It's not like you can remember anything, right? This is your problem. You block out everything. So what do I come to you for advice anyway? I basically put her down to the point that she's useless in my life. Why would I ever go to her for any advice? Because she has a tendency to block out everything, especially things to do with me. So here comes my abandonment issues coming spewing out of my mouth again. And here comes all of that trust that she had put in me to tell me or to give me perspective on why she chose to do the things that she did or why she can't remember certain things. She confided in me. She opened up to me, something she never, ever, ever had to do. She did of her own accord because she was trying to foster a little bit more of a closer bond with me. And here I am throwing it right back in her face. And you know what? It took a very long time to recover from that. And now we're in a really good place. And I know a lot better than I did before. But the point is, I used to do what I'm talking to you about. This is why I'm saying don't ever weaponize the things that people tell you in confidence. I've heard of so many situations from my clients where maybe, let's say a couple comes to me for counseling and maybe, of course, each partner in the couple itself has a past, okay? And maybe one person's past is a little more vague than the other person. Maybe they were polyamorous in one point of their life or whatever, and now they aren't. They're very, very monogamous, but they're trying to reconcile the fact that they were polyamorous. So they were upfront with their partner about the fact that, hey, I used to be like this is the way things were, and now it's not like that anymore. But the minute the partner gets insecure, the first thing that comes up is, oh, well, all your friends, why are they so close to you? And I mean, you were polyamorous before. What's the difference now? I mean, how do I know? How can I trust you? So when they actually opened up to you to give you full disclosure, so you really understand that they trust you and they want you to trust them as well, you took that and you threw it in your face, the first sign of trouble. And that's not fair. A lot of times you can't recover from that. A lot of times it hurts so bad you just want to close off everything about your life. Let me give you another example. When I met my ex-husband, I had just come off of, it was almost like a rebound. I just come off of a very long relationship as well. I was engaged to a man. I had dated him in college. We had been through, we had been through the death of my grandfather figure. And we had been through a lot of disappointments in school itself and a lot of difficulties, money-wise, all of that. And then, of course, we got pregnant. And I had to make the decision because of his reaction to the pregnancy. He was so disappointed. I was like mortified. I was ready to die and kill the baby as well. But instead, I chose to have an abortion, and that was really hard for me because up until that point in time, all I wanted was to have a baby. I just wanted to be a mom because I knew there was nothing to compare to the unconditional love of a child. But here we go. I made this decision. I had to live with it. I tried to heal from it. And we carried on our relationship for another 4 years afterwards, only to find out that he'd been cheating on me the whole time. So I let that go and I tried my best to focus on my work. I threw myself into my work, complete workaholic and all of that. And I just so happened to meet my ex-husband at work. And eventually we started talking. At first I was like, why are you even talking to me? I don't get it. You're like a ladies' man. Everybody in the world is after you. Yeah, just leave me be. And I was very wary of him, but he would seek me out and he would start talking to me about his kids. And I felt badly for him because here I am with my daddy issues. I wanted to appreciate and respect the fact that there was a single man out here trying to take care of his kids by himself. And I mean, he was running from pillar to post to make it happen. And I was like, well, damn, you know what? Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. This is an amazing thing to hear about. So eventually he started talking to me a little bit more intimately and we started dating. And eventually, of course, I disclosed all of my experience. I told him that I'd never been with anybody else. I'd only been with one other guy. And I had been through a situation where I got pregnant and he didn't, because you're going to ask about, okay, well, you were with one other guy. Why'd y'all break up? So we talked about all of that. I gave him the whole pregnancy, abortion, cheating on me situation. And guess what? Eventually down the road, when we got pregnant, he was like, well, you've done it once before. Why don't you do it again? It's not that big a deal. You could do it. I mean, you survived the first time. It didn't kill you. You'll be all right. He used that against me. And I thought at the time that it was because of finance, because, he was lashing out because he was out of control in the situation. He didn't get to do the work. He didn't get to decide for me. I had to make the decision. And I went along with it. Why? Because I was afraid of him. And guess what? It didn't just happen one more time. It happened 3 more times. So when people actually weaponize your insecurities against you, it becomes more and more difficult for you to see that person with respect, first of all, and to trust them ever again with anything else that matters to you. You're going to start becoming more guarded. And guess what happens to communication when you become guarded? It becomes less and less. It's very, very reduced. You're very vague. It's like the bare minimum just to get through the day or whatever. And guess what that does for intimacy in a relationship and trust as well. Once one person loses trust, it's very, very hard for them to get it back. It's hard for the other partner to even notice that they've lost trust, because a lot of times the partner who no longer trusts is still going to keep up appearances because they don't really want any trouble. If they're not going to leave right away because of the lack of trust, they're going to keep up appearances because they don't want to rock the boat anymore. They just want to get through this. They just want to get through the day. And guess what? That's when relationships really make more and more room for discord, for unnecessary arguments, for infidelity, for all of those things. It's when you start losing that connection. The trust isn't there. The respect isn't there. Why would I ask you for help if I can't trust you to take care of my needs after I've told you what my needs are? After I've told you to protect me because these are my insecurities and I'm worried about these things, after you use them against me, why would I ever come to you for help again? At that point, honestly, what we should do is walk away from that person altogether, but that's not what we do, is it? Because for the most part, this seems to be, okay, manageable. There's only this one small aspect that's killing me and I'll manage. I'll muddle through it. But guess what? That small part that you're pretending through, you're disappointing yourself. You're being untrue to yourself. And it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger every time you have a conversation that is less than honest. So please, take my word for it. If you have any other questions or comments, please drop them in the comments below. But when it comes to your partner's insecurities, if they've been brave enough to be vulnerable with you and tell you, hey, this is how I feel about certain things, do me a favor and take that seriously, okay? Make sure that you build a relationship based on what they've told you they need, not on what you can manipulate later on, because it never ends well, okay? And if you want that connection, if you want to find out how to make a 50-year marriage or a 30-year marriage, any of those long-term commitments and goals, this is how you do it. You stay committed to the person. You stay faithful to the person, which means the loyalty is to who they told you they were. You hold space for them to evolve, but you also take care of the pieces of them they've told you are broken. They've told you that they're broken in certain places. And if you can't respect that, you have no business staying with that person. You might as well walk away, because you would do less damage that way. Trust is such a fragile thing. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, when we lose trust in a relationship, we tend to lose trust in the world around us. That's where we start to close ourselves off from the rest of the world. We don't go out there and try again. We got to, retreat and lick our wounds a little bit. And in that period of time where you're trying really hard to lick your wounds is the most vulnerable point in a person's life, because you've purposely shut yourself off from the world. And depending on whether you've kept your friends or alienated your friends during the course of the relationship, it will either prove or disprove the fact that you feel like you're alone and no one cares about you. So please, you guys, I know you're bigger than this. If you have to resort to underhanded notions to be able to win an argument, then your argument wasn't good to begin with. It's not thunder that grows flowers, it's rain. And if you have to resort to hitting below the belt and hurting the person you love in order to get your point across, you need to realize that's not love anymore. That's ego. That's power. That's a fear of something that you're trying really hard to control. And that destroys more people in relationships than I can even begin to explain to you. So like I said, if you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comments below. I do want to hear from you. But in the meantime, you guys, be kind. Make sure everything you're discussing, and I do mean discussing, not arguing, discussing is meant to provide a 50-50 compromise solution for both of you. Something both of you can live with. Not where you've beaten the other person down and they have to give up some of their space in order for you to be happy. That's not what I'm saying. This needs to come from a place of love. This needs to come from a place of understanding. No hitting below the belt. No bringing up the past every chance you get. I don't care. It's not fair. And you would hate it if somebody did that to you. So please, treat each other with respect. Protect the trust you have. Build upon it. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I love you guys, and I really do wish you guys the best. I'll talk to you again soon.